Hey, fight fans. This is the Sweet Science. I'm your host, Jeff. This is episode 3. Welcome to my show. This week, we're going to talk about a controversial fight over the weekend and the other fights that happened over the weekend. Then, we're going to delve into the two big blockbuster fights that we had this weekend, females and males, both unified fights coming up. Haney Loma, and then you're going to have Taylor versus Cameron. Both two really big fights, but let's talk about what happened over the weekend. I did a little recap earlier in the week on this. Expressed my dismay on a decision made by Tony Weeks to stop the fight in the ninth between Romero versus Barroso. Barroso was not hurt, was winning the fight hands down, all three cards. Clearly would have I think would have won the fight if it had gone the full distance. A couple things. I mean, number one, the knockdown that Tony Weeks called a knockdown that was clearly a push by Rowley, and then the stoppage by Weeks in the ninth. That I mean, where no punches were being landed. Barroso wasn't hurt. Of course, a little tired, but not hurt. Uh, Nothing to really stop the fight. So, I mean, all we have to ask is Nevada State Boxing Commission what they're going to do about it. Are they going to make it a disqualification fight, a DQ? Are they going to make it a mandatory rematch fight? I mean, what do you do in this situation? I think you have to right this wrong, mainly for Barroso, who is at the end of his career. This could have been a huge win for him, probably the biggest win of his career. And you just took that away from him. So I think you got to right that ship. You got to right it. We watched him a week ago make the right call in the Martinez fight where they overturned a non-knockdown call. That was a big step for boxing. And then you had this weekend, which was a huge step backwards for boxing, which what we're kind of used to seeing. I honestly think this is one of the worst stoppages I've ever seen. I mean, just absolutely no reason to stop this fight, and even the announcer at the end was just drilling Rowley on why it was stopped, what he saw about the push and not the knockdown. And Rowley pretty much got hammered. He looked uncomfortable in there. I think he knew it was a bad stoppage. We all knew it was a bad stoppage. Anybody watching it did. Um, but there was a couple other fights too. I won't go too much in that. I did a recap on it when the fight was over, so I won't go much into it, and just hope that the Nevada State Boxing Commission does something about it. They haven't released any statements, probably hiding something. They know. We all know that was, Showtime's got money in Rowley. You can't afford for him to go down or lose this fight. Pretty much his career would have been over, back to back losses. Uh, he's just, not a good look for Rowley. He talked about the Garcia fight after. I wouldn't pay for that on pay per view. There's no way. There's no way I would pay to watch Rowley on pay per view. He is not a pay per view fighter. And even if Ryan is what you claim to be a pay per view fighter, that's not the guy I want to watch him fight, and not the guy I'm going to pay to watch him fight. I'm definitely going to pay to watch him fight uh, Romero. It's not a fight I want to see, and nothing I would pay for. You had a couple other fights this weekend. Zorro got a stop in the got a stoppage on his part with a nice. He laid the guy out in the seventh round with a nice little knockout. It was a good fight all the way up to the end, and then he just kind of cold cocked the guy and slept him. And then you had Janabek's fight. I didn't get to watch a lot of that fight, just a little bit of the clips here and there. Once again, they're talking about a lesser opponent for him, somebody that wasn't on his level, and then when is a middleweight division really going to step up and these guys start fighting each other? They say who's there for him to fight? There's guys, but it seems these guys are fighting once a year. Yeah, Charlo hasn't been in the ring in over a year now, so and I think they just made it mandatory for him to fight Tim Tszyu. So I mean, we'll see how that goes. But definitely the middleweight division needs to get your cards together, man. There's guys up there who are good fighters that need to be fighting each other, and too many people walking around with their hands held and fighting lesser fighters, and it's not really entertaining at all. It's probably the least entertaining division in boxing at the moment, in my opinion. We'll also talk about Let's go into we have some really big fights this weekend. Uh, Let me look down here in my notes. Going into the Katie Taylor fight, of course, Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron. You can see this fight on the zone with a start time of a little afternoon in the U.S. Big fight for Katie, and Chantel is one of the best and one of the toughest up and comers in the 140. Tough fight for Katie to take. She didn't have to take this fight. Decided that that's who she wanted, and she called Chantel out, and not in a disrespectful way, but just to say, hey, yeah, we want this fight. I want to fight in Dublin. This is her first opportunity to fight back at home in Ireland, and she's going to nail it with Chantel. This is going to be a heck of a fight. Both are unified champions. Both hold belts. It's going to be a knockdown drag out, and it's going to be awesome in the U.S. because we're going to get to watch that fight early, and it's not going to interfere with the Haney Loma fight. And it's going to be awesome. We're not going to have to choose. So it's going to be great. You guys can catch that fight early, like I said, on the zone. And then, you know, they got Terry Harper on the undercard of that. Last time I watched her, she got knocked out by Boomgardner, but since then she's won two fights coming off that knockout, and of course we know Boomgardner's just been on a tear. Recently took down Mare and is one of the up and coming women in the division. And of course, the nightcap here in the U.S. is going to be the much anticipated fight between Lomachenko and Devin Haney. A unification fight between two of the best in the lightweight division. Haney's been a little mouthy leading up to this fight, making claims that Loma is a dirty fighter and punches after the break. I think Haney knows this is a statement fight for him. This fight, it'll propel him to the next level, honestly, in boxing. Uh, you know, as one of the top boxers in the game, easily. Also, lead to a possible Davis or Stevenson fight at 135 later on in the year between if he can win this fight against Loma. This is by far Haney's biggest challenge and toughest opponent to date that he's faced. I really don't think Kambosa you can you can't measure Haney's talent off of Kambosa in my opinion. Kambosa is a good fighter, but he's not the top in that division. He's not in my opinion, he's not a top 10 fighter even in the lightweight division. Kind of got lucky against. I won't say he got lucky. He outboxed the kid that day. He won that fight against Teo. I won't say he got lucky. He was able to get to his head, and then Teo just never recovered from that. Took the L in that fight. But watching Haney, you know he's a highly skilled boxer. His IQ is above average when it comes to this sport. He's been trained by several different people, so he's got several different styles. He knows what to look for, how to adjust in a fight, and but he's fighting a very smart, veteran, experienced fighter in Loma, who will be able to box with him, foot by foot, or both on the same level when it comes to the boxing and their abilities. I believe Haney's going to have the size difference. He's going to have the size and the reach on Loma. That will be his edge. And then the edge for Loma, in my opinion, will be his power. He doesn't have a lot of power, but he's got more power than Haney does. So he needs to find a way to use that power to his advantage and possibly go toward to the body to start hurting Haney. Haney's never been hurt. Well, he was. He kind of got clipped at the end of the one fight that I watched when he was with Matchroom. He got clipped in that fight, but kind of dazed him a little bit. But he came back out. He was fine. Uh, so you catch him on that chin. Nobody's really tested it. I think Loma will test that chin, and I think at the end of the day, my prediction. I mean, it's going to be a tough fight. I don't want to throw out. I don't normally like to throw out predictions for fights. I try to stay away from that. Just to say this is going to be a heck of a fight. I think it could go 12 rounds. Both fighters have some sort of edge in this fight, and both have the same boxing ability. So this is going to be one of the best fights of the year. Don't miss out on this fight. It's going to have a nice little undercard to it. Maloney's going to be on the undercard. A couple other guys on the undercard. It's also going to have Ali Walsh on the undercard, the son of Muhammad Ali, or the grandson of Muhammad Ali. It's just yet to be decided on who he's going to fight. I guess we'll find that out sometime today, who his opponent will be. But overall, this is just not a weekend where you want to be absent during boxing, especially if you're a boxing fan. I mean, you gotta jump on this. You gotta get in there, and watch it. Even if you're a casual, I think a lot of casuals are gonna would enjoy it. My daughter's a huge Katie Taylor fan, so we'll be watching that fight for sure. And then obviously I'll be watching the Haney Loma fight. Like I said, $59.99 on ESPN. ESPN Plus pay per view is a good price for that fight, in my opinion. Out of all the pay per view fights I'm gonna buy this year, this is definitely one of them. I limit myself to how many I'm gonna buy, so it's definitely got to be a top one. I bought the Davis versus Tank fight. I got the Benavides versus Caleb Plant fight. So, like I said, only a couple a year that I'm going to buy. This probably might be one of my very last ones I'm going to buy for the year. I say that, but there's a lot of big matches this year. But yeah, once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Anybody who is watching, leave comments if you want. Like I said, this is all just based off my opinion. I am a boxing fan. I am not an expert. I'm not a boxer. I'm just a fan of the sport. I do use it to exercise. I teach my kids boxing just for self defense and things like that. But huge boxing fan. So thank you for tuning in if you are. And look forward to recapping the fights, which I'll try to do after the fights if I haven't had too much bourbon, and maybe because sometimes you're excited and those recaps, you want to let yourself settle down before you do a recap. Like last week, I was a little mad over the results to the fight, so I did a recap, and I may have seemed a little angry in that, so I apologize. But I'll try to let myself settle down before I do a recap. Like I said, we got some big fights coming, and thank you guys for tuning in. Big fight weekend this week, 2 blockbuster fights, don't miss them. And thank you guys once again. This is Jeff, episode 3 of the Sweet Science.